The internet is literally a bottomless pit where you can find content of absolutely any kind. Most of us, though, are used to its surface layer, the part that's more or less understandable and somewhat controlled. That's why it feels especially creepy when you accidentally stumble upon something that defies logic, something truly unsettling. Before we dive in, I'd like to mention that we've teamed up with other creepy YouTubers to create a collaborative project where there'll be lots of exciting joint content. All the updates will be shared on our Telegram channel, Creepy Cult. You can find the link in the description. Now let's get started. We'll begin, so to speak, at the tip of the iceberg with a website called Paranoia.com. Paranoia.com was a site focused on free speech, created by Kevin Texas in 1994, right when the World Wide Web first became publicly accessible. It was a very popular site with a rather strange mix of topics. However, like any platform with complete free speech, there was a darker side to it. Topics like cannibalism, assisted suicide, prostitution, pedophilia, and violent content were extremely common on the site. Eventually, the site was shut down in 1999. By 2000, the domain belonged to a German company and redirected users to a French webpage. Today, this controversial site redirects users to the Disney website. No one could understand why a company, which is supposed to focus on family-friendly cartoons, would touch such a controversial domain. Some speculated that Disney bought the domain because of its bad reputation, hoping to drive more traffic to their own site. But it turns out that in 2000, a short-lived family game show called Paranoia aired on the Fox channel. It even had its own website, oddly enough, Paranoia.com. So it's likely that when Disney acquired the Fox family of networks in 2001, all the web domains associated with Fox, including this one, may have been transferred to Disney. That said, Disney hasn't said anything about this, so only time will tell what really happened. Like Paranoia.com, several mysterious websites popped up during the early days of the World Wide Web. One of the most notable was Mortis.com. It was created in 1997 and was a simple landing page with a black background and a white login field for a username and password. All attempts to log in were unsuccessful, but the desire to uncover what was behind this page pushed internet users to investigate further. Soon, they discovered that Mortis.com was storing a massive amount of data. One file alone was nearly 40 gigabytes. In the 1990s, that amount of data on a website was considered absolutely insane, which only fueled more curiosity and speculation. Over time, the name Thomas Ling started to surface. Many users on 4chan and Reddit concluded that he might have been the site's owner. However, there were 24 other sites linked to the same name. Searching for Thomas Ling led to the strangest results: a dental clinic in San Francisco, an abandoned plot of land in Sydney, Australia, empty warehouses, and phone numbers that no one ever answered. Various conspiracy theories surround Mortis.com. One person, claiming to be Thomas Ling from Australia, said the site was used to store wedding photos. But the idea of storing wedding pictures on a site whose name translates to death seems, to put it mildly, odd. Another theory suggests that Mortis.com might have been something far more sinister, though no concrete evidence has ever surfaced to confirm this. The website Mortis.com might have been used as a host for a pirated version of Netflix. That could explain why the files were so massive. Today, Mortis.com has completely vanished from the internet. It can't even be found using the Wayback Machine. So unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, the story behind this project is known only to Thomas Ling himself. On July 22, 2013, a free, unofficial role-playing game called SciQuest 3000 appeared online. Just to clarify, it wasn't approved or created by Kanye West himself. The game starts with a fictional Kanye West taking out the trash when he's suddenly transported to the year 3030. There he encounters clones of hip-hop legends Snoop Dogg and Tupac. To get back home, the player, as Kanye West, must battle them in turn-based rap battles. At first glance, it all seems pretty harmless. However, 2 years later, a hidden layer within the game was discovered. If the player types the word "ascent" into a dialog box with an NPC, the character is abruptly taken to a secret part of the game. Kanye transforms into a butterfly, and a strange series of welcome messages begins, followed by a set of riddles and codes needed to move forward. When all the codes are entered correctly, the player is congratulated on their ascension. Then, the game unexpectedly asks for personal information. This raised red flags for many players. Rumors started swirling that the ascension was actually tied to a cult that believed in reincarnation and targeted impressionable young people for recruitment. It wasn't until 2022 that the YouTube channel Goss House uncovered the 9-year mystery of PsyQuest 3030. It turned out the game was created by a musician from Adelaide named Clara Hope as an artistic school project. The whole thing was nothing more than an art installation that players had overthought and exaggerated. It was an unexpected ending for a cult that, apparently, never existed. But there's a twist. When Clara was found, she had just released a new album titled Ascent. Whether that's a coincidence or not, you decide. On September 18, 2008, a new blog with the ominous title Raising a Psychopath appeared online. It was run by a man named Harry, who, with cold detachment, kept an online diary about his adopted son, Lucas. Harry and his wife decided to skip the challenges of having a biological child. Instead, they chose to adopt right away. They settled on Lucas, a 6-year-old boy who had spent his early years in neglect and abuse. 5 years later, all Harry and his wife had left were regrets and complaints. According to them, Lucas had stopped responding to punishment. 2 days before the blog started, Lucas ended up in juvenile court over an incident involving a neighbor's underwear drawer, a digital camera, and his private parts. By that point, Harry had firmly concluded that his adopted son was a psychopath. He began keeping a rather strange timeline, where he detailed what he believed lay in Lucas's future. In this so-called roadmap, there were predictions of theft, fights, and even murders. The comments on the blog evolved over time, going from praising Harry for his bravery to accusing him of taking in a traumatized child without giving him the experience or support he needed. The final blog post appeared in 2010. Since then, the blog has been archived, and no one knows what happened to Lucas. In March 2021, a video surfaced on TikTok showing a bloodied woman limping down a street in Seattle, calling for help. At first glance, it looked like a zombie prank or as if an extra from The Walking Dead had wandered off the set. But things got much more serious when the police arrived. The woman kept screaming and acting extremely erratic. Her face was ghostly pale. She was holding something bloody, and at one point she mentioned a child. Some even thought the object in her hand might be a baby's head. The video quickly went viral. People started coming up with all sorts of theories, from a brutal attack by her ex-boyfriend and his dog to a severe mental disorder. However, the Seattle police didn't release any official statements, which only fueled the rumors. It wasn't until 2022 that a YouTube blogger named Rebecca uncovered the truth by obtaining body cam footage from one of the officers. The video showed a paramedic examining the woman, confirming that the blood wasn't real, and her face was covered in theatrical makeup. The whole thing was orchestrated by a woman named Kimberly Kasai. It turned out she staged this stunt as a social performance to express her views on vaccination. In 2014, an anonymous 4chan user under the name PC posted about disturbing events that happened to his friend after his computer was infected with a virus. It all started when his friend began noticing strange things. He'd leave the TV and lights on, but when he returned home, they'd be turned off. This started happening right after his PC got infected. Later, he found corrupted images and odd text files in his downloads folder, files he claimed he never knowingly downloaded. Other 4chan users teamed up, collected these images, and when they pieced them together, the result looked like a demonic face on a red background. But that wasn't all. Hidden in the top part of the image was a coded message that translated to, "I am God." There were even videos of paranormal activity that, according to PC's friend, he experienced in his own home. One recording showed a floating red spot slowly moving toward the kitchen. Some in the discussion thought it was just a hoax or prank, but others believed he was genuinely being haunted, especially after others who downloaded the same image started reporting system glitches and strange occurrences in their own homes. Eventually, the original poster stopped responding. The discussion died down, and the thread faded away. The disappearance of Maura Murray is one of the most mysterious and widely discussed cases in modern America. On the evening of February 9, 2004, on a deserted road in New Hampshire, a local resident noticed a black car veer off the road and crash into a tree. The driver was 21-year-old Maura Murray. A man offered to help, but Maura begged him not to call the police. He called anyway, but when officers arrived, Maura had vanished. All that was left in the car were wine bottles, a map, and signs of the crash. Her cell phone, bank cards, and Maura herself were gone without a trace. The whole situation seemed strange from the start. The day before her disappearance, Maura told her professors she was leaving for a week due to a family emergency. She withdrew $280 from her account, packed up her dorm room, and left a goodbye note for her fiancé. The morning after the incident, her fiancé received a call from an unknown number. All he heard on the line was breathing. That was the last possible contact with her. The investigation stalled. There were no signs of a struggle, no evidence of violence. The police even considered that Maura might have run away willingly. But year after year, none of her bank accounts or cards were ever used. Then a strange video appeared on YouTube. A man with a stone-cold face stares into the camera, then bursts into wild laughter, winks, and the video cuts off. It seemed like just another random clip from deep YouTube. Nothing special. But the caption below read, 112. The code of the hotel where Maura's father stayed during the search. The video felt like it was mocking the family. The police tracked down the creator, a man from Massachusetts named Jeffrey Alden Allen, but they found no evidence linking him to the case. The video remained a creepy clue that led nowhere, only sparking more theories. Nearly 20 years have passed, and Maura Murray still hasn't been found. The Howard Stern Show was an uncensored American radio program that began airing in 1986. The show attracted all sorts of bizarre calls, but one call in 1998 stood out above the rest. It started with an anonymous caller who identified himself as Clay. Clay confessed that he was a killer from Starville, a serial killer believed to be responsible for the murders of 24 prostitutes in New Orleans, Louisiana. Clay admitted to everything. Listeners couldn't tell if what they were hearing was real until the FBI stepped in and seized the audio as evidence. It turned out the caller revealed details only the killer could know, like the fact that the main suspect in the murders was a black police officer. He wasn't wrong. A New Orleans police officer named Victor Gant was indeed the prime suspect. However, he was never charged. Eventually, the police caught another man, a former taxi driver named Russell Elwood. He was charged with the murders of 2 women. The police believed he was responsible for others, but Elwood was only convicted of 1. Was Russell Elwood the serial killer who called into the radio show? Some have their doubts. Elwood was in jail for buying cocaine from an undercover agent at the time of the call. Did Clay make it all up, or did a serial killer truly escape justice for dozens of murders? That's one question no one could answer. And always remember, an observer can never prove their own existence. Rest in peace.